That's for Foggy Nelson and Rain Deem. Rest in piss, bozo. She had that coming. As far as I'm concerned, Benjamin Poindexter is a hero in this household. Vanessa's body isn't even cold yet, and I'm already throwing a celebration in their honor. I probably sound like a broken record right now, but it's insane how the season keeps getting better with each new episode. From the incredible lobster action to the quiet character moments, this episode truly hit the bullseye. And no, I'm not and never will be sorry for that. It's even better with how it all came together in this insane, bloody ending to the best episode of Born Again so far, and somehow it's supposed to get even better from here on out? This season is gonna be life-changing, dude. Oh my god, I cannot believe how good it's gotten. We may as well just dive into it right now because there is so much to talk about. Let's start things off talking about Bullseye because he stole the entire episode. It basically became his show this week, and I think we're all better off for it. Wilson Bethel is definitively one of the all-time best comic book casting choices. He already was, honestly, but this episode solidified it. He is on the Mount Rushmore of MCU villains. And it might be recency bias kicking in, but live-action superhero villains in general. Every single time he's on screen without failure, the show kicks into the next level. I've never seen a character who's able to shift the tone of a scene just by showing up in it quite like him. And it's all thanks to Wilson because his performance is incredible stuff. He was born to play Bullseye, which might sound like an insult saying he was born to play a serial killer, so I hope he doesn't take offense to that and kill me, even though it then would prove I'm right, but he was born to play Bullseye. Every single little detail about his performance is done with so much care for the character to really embody him. Most notably in his expressions, they are always on point and tell an entire story within a single glance. This shot right here, where you can only see his eyes framed within the balaclava, is perfect and does so much to tell you his mindset as he stares at Vanessa. Oh god, it is so good seeing someone who's able to do so much with their eyes alone. But even just beyond that, in his delivery, his performance always feels so organic and believable, switching from kind to unhinged in a moment's notice. The contrast between his violent actions and innocent personality is gold and does a lot to highlight just how much of a menace he really is, completely detached from reality like that. But it's so much more than just the obvious stuff. It's about the little details he does in between those big mannerisms, like how we see him running the coin through his fingers like he did in season 3, showing that he's stimming and constantly trying to keep himself locked in. Or perhaps my favorite delivery of his ever when he says,
"Shit, he has a gun."
Not only is that just really funny, but watching Dex have to give a performance, you can see he isn't able to connect with human emotion like that to really sell it. It's a great way to show how much of a sociopath he truly is, thinking that he's doing enough to sell the urgency of the situation just by saying there's a gunman with that slight smile on his face as he's having fun with it. It's all that nuance and more that I could spend hours diving into that makes his performance one of the all-time greats. It especially helps that the writing he's working with lets him really chew into the character and show his talents on screen. There's been a lot to love so far this season, but by far my favorite thing has been Dex's twisted redemption arc entirely within his own head. It is by far the most interesting direction they could have taken his character, especially in how it relates to the story of vigilantes being criminalized this season. Season 3 of Daredevil proved that Dex is at his best when he has something to fixate on. It is a huge part of his character that his internal compass is broken and he needs something to help guide him. Having it so he finally finds that in his self-proclaimed redemption arc, as he's doing everything he can to gaslight himself into thinking he's doing good, is genius. And I think that idea is best reflected in his morning routine, as it's completely normal. He has a normal life. He has his own apartment. He's got a dump truck. He's got neighbors that like him. He commits to the bit and makes a bullseye in the oil. He's got it all together. It's almost uncomfortable watching someone so deranged like Bullseye living a completely normal life like that. Even going as far as listening to music as he starts his day, and New York State of Mind was a great song choice. This celebration of returning to your roots as a working class anthem of hustling that represents the spirit to endure. It is exactly how Dex sees himself this season. He's finally able to take agency in his own life again, but it comes at the cost of killing as many people as possible. After being more broken than ever last season, he has found a North Star to guide him. It's such an interesting idea to present the fact that Dex is only able to live a healthy life when he's doing horrible things outside of it. And you can start to see this new mindset set in for Dex as he fully believes he's one of the good guys because the anti-vigilante task force is reinforcing his decisions wanting both him and Daredevil for the same reason. He's fully able to register how evil the anti-vigilante task force is and believes that if he takes them out, it will help put him back on this path of redemption despite the atrocities he's going to commit along the way, which brings me to the opening action scene because it's going to go down in the history books. This is by far the best action scene we've seen in the entirety of Born Again, which says a lot because the prison fight we just got last episode was generational, and now here they are blowing that out of the water. First off, I think the most impressive part of this entire sequence is the fact that he drank that whole milkshake in like 3 seconds flat. What kind of lunatic is able to do that without getting any brain freeze? That is infinitely more impressive than any kill with a toothpick or a lobster. His suck game is generational, which sounds a lot weirder now that I've said it out loud, but it's staying in the video. I love the idea that Dex calls the anti-vigilante task force to his location at the diner just for the love of the game alone. I know those utensils were calling to him like the Green Goblin mask because he is having the time of his life out there. This is fun for him. Not just getting to kill people, but the idea that he's found his purpose and is doing it for the right reasons in his mind. And I'm so glad that they're not actually trying to turn Dex into an anti-hero. When he was genuinely manipulated by Vanessa, I did have some concerns that was the direction they're going, but this season has completely washed those away as they're showing us that they are committed to Dex being a villain through and through. His tragic past is there not to give us sympathy for him, but to inform his decisions and why he's acting the way he does, as he goes about this in all the wrong ways, killing as many people as possible just because. Even if it is immensely satisfying seeing all the anti-vigilante task force brutally die, I will say I enjoyed that maybe a little too much. But when he's throwing a lobster at a guy, I can't help but enjoy it. It's so cool. But for the redemption arc, the best part about it is they still make him a bad person at the end of the day. One moment I really love that reflects that idea is how he takes his neighbor hostage without a second thought. She actually cared for him and they had this camaraderie with each other, but he's willing to do whatever it takes to achieve this goal. He has convinced himself that the ends justify the means, that if he's able to kill this one person, it will absolve him of all of his sins when he's just creating more along the way for himself. It is such a brilliant direction to take his character. And all of that is made even better with how he bounces off of Daredevil in this episode. Yeah, we're 7 minutes into this video about Daredevil, and I haven't even mentioned Daredevil yet. That's just how good the Bullseye stuff was. The apartment fight they had together was so peak and did a great job reflecting their own unique skill sets. I'm so glad that I didn't watch this when Marvel decided to randomly post it on the timeline earlier today. Someone really needs to take the password away from the marketing team because it is too good to be watched like that. That CD shot is going to live in my mind forever. That's the best camera work of this entire series so far. And it somehow only gets better from there as these distinct fighting styles clash, with Matt trying to desperately close the gap because he can easily beat Dex in hand-to-hand combat, while Dex is throwing everything he can at him to get by. And then all throughout the fight, I love that Dex is trying to convince Matt they're on the same side without giving him any reason to do so, considering he fired the first shot, as if this sudden change of heart makes up for all the horrible things he's done to Matt directly in the past. But here's the thing. It's what happens after the fight that I love the most. This interaction between Matt and Dex is probably some of the best work Charlie Cox and Wilson Bethel have done in the entire run of Daredevil. I'm so serious about that. The desperation in Bullseye's voice as he's pleading with Daredevil to give him this chance, while Matt is getting angrier than ever for Dex bringing up Foggy, is so good. I love Matt's genuine dumbfounded confusion when he just laughs at Dex as if he can't believe what he's hearing from the man who's ruined his life. There's such little details that make these characters feel real and authentic to who they are. The whole thing gets taken up a notch though when Dex uses Matt's faith against him, challenging him on his beliefs of redemption as he says that one good deed will level the scales again. It basically forces Matt to make this decision of what he values most in life, if it's his personal revenge or if he actually wants to see a man find faith and save his own life. It takes their dynamic and completely flips it on its head as they become two sides of the same coin, but they handle their guilt in very different ways. I also think this might be the most interesting the no-kill rule debate has ever been. It's so interesting to me that Dex wants to kill Fisk to make things right after Vanessa had him murder Foggy, doing the thing that he knows Daredevil won't do, but Matt can't let Fisk die at all costs because he will become a martyr to the cause and will only make things infinitely worse. On top of Karen, it's another voice out there piling on the idea that the no-kill rule might have to be broken, challenging Matt on if Fisk deserves to die or not, and if it's worth him becoming a symbol as well. It is such a well-acted and written exchange with chilling dialogue, and yet somehow it's not even the best part of the episode. I will say, I did really like Bullseye escaping on a moped. I think that's hilarious and feels so comic booky, but we'll talk about where he goes in a bit. I want to dive more into Matt before we get there because I really love this one scene right here where he visits the church. If you remember, after Foggy died, Matt cut himself off from his faith. He felt too guilty over that and he couldn't bring himself to entering the church and confessing to that sin. The closest he ever got last season was listening to a sermon from the outside because he couldn't even stomach the thought of entering it. But now, because of how well written this season is, he's forced back into a church to track this lead on Bullseye. Also, it is genuinely really funny seeing Matt act as a member of the task force. It's such cursed imagery, but also really compelling to see him use the tools of the enemy to get the edge, using their immunity to his advantage and getting into places he otherwise wouldn't be allowed. But back to the church scene. Matt has no choice but to confront his faith head-on as he enters this sanctuary, and for the first time in months, he's actually afforded a moment of peace. There's nobody after him as he's shielded by this armor and he's safe for once. And now that he's finally made his way in there, he confronts his biggest fear and embraces his faith once more, getting to pray and have a moment to himself. It's a very quiet scene, but one of my favorite of the entire series. Even more so with how they edit in the flashbacks to season 1. Oh god, that warms my heart seeing them unabashedly make reference to the OG Netflix show. After all we've had to do to get to this point where Marvel is openly embracing them with open arms, it was so rewarding to directly see that footage, aspect ratio and all. There's just something about that scene of Matt in the church that gets me choked up thinking about it. It is so good. After all the setbacks he's faced this season, it was really nice to see Matt actually get some wins this episode. Like, I love how he and Karen were able to exchange their own I love yous together. That is so long overdue and just shows how committed they are to this relationship, which was nice to see because I'm sure it's only going to be suffering from here on out, and that is just the way I like it. It is sad though that Swordsman can't join his army because he thinks he's too old. Come on dude, we got Cherry on the army. We can afford to have another old man, especially one who aura farms as much as him. But at least he's bankrolling the entire operation. As per tradition at this point, Swordsman also drops the hardest line of the episode when he says, "You're a symbol now, hope for an entire city." I think it's really important for Matt to hear that and see that he is having an impact on the city. And I guess they're off the hook now for Kate Bishop not appearing since her almost stepfather is gone, but I still think she should be there, okay? Where is she, Marvel? She's got beef with that fat man, and they could really use someone else with perfect aim right about now. On the bright side, the army was able to get some huge wins this episode as they got a recorded statement from the first mate of the Northern Star, and Angela was able to get an SD card with information to BB. I feel like that's going to be their ace in the hole and how they start to mend all the damage Fisk caused. His entire propaganda machine revolved around the Northern Star incident and how he's blaming Daredevil for this terrorist attack. So if they're able to credibly prove it was ordered by the Kingpin, his entire narrative crumbles. I guess it's not ideal that Buck killed the guy, but if they can somehow prove that happened, then their argument is airtight. And if there's anyone who can make that happen, it's Kirsten McDuffie. I love her so much as a character. I'm so glad that she's getting more to do this season and even more involved with the Resistance, being the attorney to take that official statement. We're already seeing her actually grow as she didn't want anything to do with the Resistance at first, and now she's basically going to be the key to everything. Especially now that she's got this dynamic with Karen Page going on, I think they have a really fun back and forth as Karen for the longest time was Matt's right-hand woman, but now she can't fill that role because they will shoot her if they see her. So it's up to Kirsten to step up and take advantage of that as Karen basically walks her through having to operate with Daredevil. I do really hope that she figures out Matt's identity as Daredevil though, because she's clearly growing frustrated with Matt not getting in contact with her, and I feel like at a certain point she's going to put 2 and 2 together. Then, all the way on the other side of that spectrum is what Fisk is up to this episode. While he's mostly just preparing for the only interesting boxing match to ever happen, we do get the return of Mr. Charles. For as much as I love the previous 2 episodes, his absence was sorely felt last week. Matthew Lillard's energy is so infectious. I love his relationship with Fisk as he continues to challenge him and show just how inferior he is in the grand scheme of things, directly confronting Fisk on how he's struggling to maintain control. In his past life as the Kingpin, if anyone even dared to say something as nasty as that to his face, he would personally remove his head with a car door. So the fact that Mr. Charles is able to credibly threaten the Kingpin, and the only thing Fisk can do is shoot his goons, it says a lot to how the power dynamic has completely shifted. It's also a really cool way to draw out the scale and show that even with how far Fisk has come, he's powerless in the grand scheme of things. He's merely a big fish in a small pond, surrounded by even bigger fish who will chew him up and spit him out. Considering what happens later on in this episode, I think it's a really interesting time for Mr. Charles to challenge Fisk again and put that pressure on him to maintain their half of the deal to get those weapons through. Fisk is going to be way more erratic in the future, and I can only see that being bad for Mr. Charles. Especially with Buck being the GOAT and striking first, it's showing that Fisk is getting even more confident trying to throw his weight around. I can't wait to see what kind of consequences he gets from above as he gets even more bold and brash now that he has every reason in the world to hate these vigilantes. So now that we've gone through all that build up up, we can finally talk about that hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby-esque boxing match and the insane ending of this episode. I really love that Fisk set up this fight as a trap to lure out Bullseye and end him once and for all. My original theory for the match was that Fisk only did it as an excuse to get violent, but it makes so much more sense for why this is happening. Also, Fisk sending Vanessa away basically sealed her fate for me. I knew she was cooked the moment he said he didn't want her there, but then when she showed up in a white dress, she basically signed her death warrant on the spot, which sounds like victim blaming, and it is. When it comes to the fight itself, I love the way they structured it and how they shot the action. Fisk basically just drawing this fight out until he knows everything's been taken care of, and then he's able to lock in. I think my favorite shot in this sequence is after Fisk gets distracted when Vanessa appears, and he gets punched in the face for the first time. The way the camera spun around was really cool and did a good job to show just how discombobulated he was. Unfortunately though, with that, it means that Fisk was embarrassed in front of Vanessa for the actual last time, and he basically just beats that guy to a pulp in the ring. It gives him his Homelander moment as the crowd cheers for this brutal beatdown, showing that he has finally become untouchable. Well, at least he thinks it, because this is basically the pride before the fall. When Bullseye arrived on the scene, I had never sat up in my seat so fast before. The tension was palpable. All of the chaos and action that came with his arrival as he charged towards the ring was so good. You can feel the weight of every kill as he got one step closer. They also did a really good job showing how desperate Fisk was to prevent Bullseye from doing any damage as he took out a gun for the first time ever. Knowing what he's capable with his hands alone, that image is horrifying. And I guess Daredevil agreed because he stopped him from taking the shot and killing Bullseye, setting off this chain of events that will doom everybody forever. I already know that one decision from Matt to knock the gun out of his hand is going to make Fisk angrier than ever, since he's going to put all the blame on Matt for not letting him kill Bullseye. It is such a juicy idea that adds a whole new layer of hatred to that relationship. And what an incredible subversion it was as Matt and Dex crash through the window and you think that's it, that all the fight is over, only for the slow turn from Vanessa revealing that she's cooked, and I started cheering looking at my television screen. That is vindication and justice for our fallen heroes along the way. Having both Bullseye and Fisk be responsible for her death was such a perfect decision. Bullseye still gets his revenge and can be proud of the fact that he's responsible for her death, while Fisk is going to feel immense guilt for how he indirectly killed her, breaking up that glass shard. I know he's not going to admit it, and he's just going to channel that into hating vigilantes more, but it's going to eat away at him on the inside. The decision to have the murder weapon be a statue that represents all of Fisk's progress is such a great twisted irony, and also an even better way to show us how his entire world just shattered. This one incident is going to take everything away from him as his control over the city begins to shatter as well, and it is entirely his own fault. Bullseye still gets his credit, but you can make the argument that Fisk created Bullseye, and now his monster comes back to haunt him as it takes away his one true love. Vincent's performance, though, as the Kingpin facade crumbles is incredible. You can see him letting out this new layer of vulnerability we haven't seen in a long time. The way his voice breaks as he calls out in distress is gonna stick with me for a long time. And it might just be me, but the way the blood seeped into her white shirt was very reminiscent of Rabbit in a snowstorm. Even if I'm reading way too much into that, the idea of the most important person and thing in Fisk's life forever being stained by blood is so poetic for him. God, what an ending, man. That episode was perfect. It feels like it was ripped straight out of the Netflix show. The quality of the writing was just that good. Before we bring this thing home, I do want to make some predictions for the future once again, so potential spoilers from here on out. Here's another warning for you. I think next week, episode 5 is going to be a flashback episode. We know episode 6 is titled Requiem, which makes me think it's going to be Vanessa's funeral when things really pick up, and not an appearance from Leon S. Kennedy, although that would be pretty cool. But I think before we can get there, episode 5 is going to be a flashback to draw out the cliffhanger a little more as we see these characters reflect on their past in an interesting way that informs the rest of the season. We already know we're getting foggy flashbacks. Recent trailers have confirmed that Wesley's returning. I did miss seeing him without 7 bullet holes in his chest. So there are clearly a lot of flashbacks to pick up on, and I think this is the time to do it. Episode 5 last season was the really fun bottle episode, so it feels like pacing-wise, it makes the most sense for that to take place right now. And then the week after, we can explore the consequences of what happened here. I think that the most immediate effect we're going to see from that fallout is Heather being radicalized by it. She didn't get to make an appearance this episode, but I think that's because they're saving her for a crazy crash out in the future after the only person she ever related to died due to the same thing she feared. This is going to send her over the edge to the point where where she's probably going to put on that Muse mask for the first time as a form of exposure therapy to try and calm herself down, maybe even going as far as killing her first person as Muse to get into the headspace of a vigilante and find out why they operate like that, only as that acts as a cover for her to become the new Muse. Really looking forward to more of that, along with the fact that the governor mentioned to Vanessa before she died crazy style that she'd only back Fisk if Vanessa was working alongside him, so it's going to be really interesting to see Fisk get more pressure put on him from all sides as he escalates his agenda further than ever. I truly don't think we're ready for the amount of hell Fisk is going to rain down upon Daredevil and every other vigilante. That reign of terror is probably going to be what forces Matt to accept Bullseye's help as he's backed into this corner and needs all the support he can get, and probably how Jessica Jones gets involved as Fisk no longer waits for these vigilantes to do something and just hunts them down to get them off the streets. The official mid-season trailer just dropped for Born Again, and it revealed a little bit too much, including the fact that Jessica has a daughter now, and considering some of the set photos that recently leaked, I feel like we're gonna at least get Luke Cage back too, right? Even if it's just a cameo, he has to be there. And then hopefully, in a perfect world, Kate Bishop would get arrested as well. I know she's definitely not appearing in this season, but I will continue this agenda no matter what. Then again, Haley did just have her baby. Congratulations, by the way. How fast can we get her on set to film some Kate Bishop scenes for episode 6? I feel like we can make it happen, right? Even without an appearance from Kate Bishop, Born Again keeps getting better and better, which is the highest praise I can give it. It is so rewarding that the entire creative team is able to prove how much they know what they're doing. Those first 3 episodes laid a really strong foundation as they got every character where they needed to be, and now with episode 4, they can run with it as Born Again hits its best stride. I cannot wait to see where they go from here. There is so much potential for the future, especially considering that we still haven't seen Jessica Jones yet. All this insane stuff is happening, and we haven't even gotten to the thing I'm most looking forward to this season. The back half of this season is going to be talked about for years to come. I cannot wait to see what they got cooking up for the second half. Oh god, we're already halfway through the season. That just hit me like a truck. Where has the time gone? I really don't like thinking about that, so instead, I'm gonna go get a banana milkshake. Probably kill a few guys while I'm at it, you know the usual. While I'm doing that, why don't you just let me know your thoughts on episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again Season 2. I would genuinely love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. And while you're at it, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you don't do it, I'm throwing a lobster at you as hard as humanly possible. It probably won't kill you, because I don't have that good of aim, but it's gonna hurt, so just subscribe instead.